Today I'm going to be taking a look at some lighting and a 14-day challenge submission. But to start off, let's do some announcements. If you see this work on my Photoshop here and you want to submit your stuff to get critiqued, how do I get critiqued by Istebrak? Go to istebrak.com and click on the Reddit icon. Sorry, this asshole's revving. Click on the Reddit icon here. Alright, and it'll take you to the subreddit. So there's two things I want to show you. This is where you can join and submit your work. Everything I pick up comes from the wall. And then you have the option of joining the holiday challenge. So we just did the Halloween challenge. I submitted it. Not a lot of people commented. Not a lot of people watched it. I'm assuming because everyone was busy with Halloween. And I understand. But I hope you guys catch up and look at all the beautiful submissions we had. That day on Thursday was the day that we did last Thursday was the day that we did the Halloween challenge. And then the design challenge for the winter is going to be due, thank you Manny, is going to be due, so I leave for Christmas holiday before the 20th. No matter what time of week that is, I just leave before the 20th. So no classes after the 20th. So before the 20th, till the 18th or 17th, I have classes. So 17th, Thursday, is when the design challenge for the holiday season is due. Excuse me. And it is just designing many different creatures. But all out of the same material. So everyone who submits something has to submit it made out of the same material. So that is different because you guys just did a challenge where everything was made out of different material. You had some stuff that it's basically a texture study. The Halloween challenge was a texture study that you guys I tricked you into doing. So you guys studied leaves and smoke and all these cool things. So same thing that you guys are going to be doing this time, except it's going to be one specific texture. And that's how we get our texture mileage in, by joining challenges, because apart from that, you guys are really focused on portraits, which is the backbone of your portfolio, but it is extremely important to also keep your mind wrapped around other things, keep your mind occupied with other ways the brush can move. It's not always smooth blending. When it comes to textures, there's no blending stage. Do you guys know that? Write that back to me. So you guys are so used to this blending mentality when it comes to skin tones and transitions and radial shading, and managing edges and softened edges and organic surface texture. You guys are used to expecting a blending stage when it comes to textures. So that's why we do these challenges. That's why we join the Halloween challenge and the holiday challenge, because it gets your mind in a different type of dance with your brush strokes. So ice, snow, all the main translucent winter elements, but as a creature, the creature itself can be in any form as long as it's made of these elements. It can be small fantastical creatures, floating creatures, colossal titans. Excuse me, I was out in the cold all day. Such as ice dragons or giant golems, or more in the realm of realistic animals such as ice snakes or big cats. That sounds really cool. Ice snakes, I just can't get enough of snakes. Snakes are probably my favorite animal. So that'd be really, really cool if you guys paint that. You may also add your creature to its environment and submit a full illustration. Someone last class mentioned that this challenge looks a lot like those fox creatures from the Star Wars movie, Last Jedi or something. Was it Rise of Skywalker or Last Jedi? I think Last Jedi. You may also add your creature to its environment, so you may submit a full illustration, or you can have a minimal illustration with a minimal background, a simple character design with a basic background. 0 humanoids, 0 characters. I am not expecting any kind of speaking things. I'm talking about big, giant ice creatures, many small little ice creatures, magical ice creatures, all that bring the element of frost and snow. Okay, I'm looking for subsurface scattering, thorough texture research and rendering, planning thumbnails, etc. So let's get started on today's critique hour. But if you are interested in giving back to the community, please consider joining as a patron. You can go to istebrak.com and click on the support me on Patreon icon to join as a single $1. So that's $1 a month. If you're benefiting in any way from the channel, and you want to give back, joining as $1 is really an untraceable amount, but if everyone joins as $1 a month, then it would really I would not need such a big call for the higher tiers for joining. The community really needs it. I'm not working with any kind of representation, and I don't plan on changing my content style to be more click-worthy. If you guys want to join as patrons, I'd appreciate it. All right, so let's get started. For this piece, something really big that's popping out at me. So you've got dark character, all right? So you've got a dark character and dark sky, which seems like it makes sense because maybe a big cloud just came in. Then you've got this really, really strong light down here. So one thing we could just do is just make it all the same weather. It doesn't transition like that. Once that sky is kind of taken over, we don't really have those strong cast shadows anymore. Meaning that the light came in and diffused everything within its wake. So it's not, the light only does this trick with cast shadows when it's uninterrupted, when the ray of light travels straight for a good while. So if I darkened anything as if it's all overcast, then that should help us kind of make sense of the time of day you're dealing with here. But that's not a painting, that's not good. So what you can do is you can keep the sky lighter, so you can make the sky lighter but keep her dark. And the way I'm going to do that is by just doubling the layer and trying to just do a quick one. So I'm just going to illuminate for the sky behind her. We're going to create a silhouette within which she is shadowed but under a nearby sail, which looks a lot more cinematic, a lot more dramatic. So I think that would look better. So it's just for the sky. I'm only lightening for the sky. What I do is go back and delete. And these clouds here also need a little bit of love. I'm gonna try to do something with the clouds. It's a little bit more detail. All right, so we have that, and you can see from the navigator icon right here down in the layers, you can see it already looks better. Something reads. So we can go back now and delete what was dark. So we can delete all the way down. You can delete back at your original contrast. So it makes it seem like she's halfway in the sail shadow. So I would actually go back as well and redarken her so that only her dress or beneath her corset is all lit up. Sorry about my voice sounding really bad, but it does that when I get sick, when I stay outside too long. I was working on my deck, which is grueling work. Abu just freaking built the whole thing, but we're decking now. We're putting that decking stuff on the top, and it seems straightforward, but it is the most excruciating process, but it's almost done. I know, who the hell built a deck in November, but I take that any day over 90-degree summer heat building a deck, so wish me luck. I basically didn't do any critique hour, private students this week just because we have to finish this before the snow hits it. We're already getting tons of snow, not tons of snow, tons of snow in the forecast, so. Again, who the hell built a deck in November? Istebrak. That's real. Alright, so as you can see, it's starting to look a little bit better. That cloud is still a little bit dark. So that's why I said I need to do something special for it, which is basically just... can I pull it off? Do you think I can pull it? No, I can't pull it off. I'm just gonna try to go in there. So it doesn't look like there's like a haze around her. It's awkward haze that makes no sense. And that's kind of what you've done. That's kind of what you've done. You've kind of given us this really, really awkward haze that just doesn't make any sense in the background. And I feel like something happened in your layers that you just decided to keep. But it needs to go because what it's doing is it's completely confused the light environment with which you are using to assist your character. So with which you are delivering your character or presenting your character. So when we choose a light environment, it should be pretty uniform. You shouldn't depend too much on gradient skies. The sky is too big for us to be able to capture its gradients in a photograph, unless it's like a sunset or a sunrise or some kind of big thing happening in the sky, like a shadow of a great flying castle or something. So I feel like this is something you really missed, the silhouette against the bright sky. And that can also be a silhouette. A silhouette doesn't always have to be pure black silhouette. A silhouette can be partial, but you still need to base it off the principle of the silhouette. You still need to work with it the same way. All right, so that is starting to make a lot more sense. This still needs a lot of detail, but I'm doing my best to get there. So I thought she was in front of a painted background for a second. Yeah, that's because it was dark, right? Because it looks dark. So what I'm trying to do here is just that. Just relief and a lot of detail through the edges of that relief, the object against the background. And then the clouds, what are clouds? If anyone were to look at a kindergarten's drawing of a cloud, what would they use? Would they use a brown or would they use a white? So clouds by nature are just brighter. They catch a lot of sunlight. They're just floating prisms. So, you know, like the ones that catch light and distribute rainbows and shit like that. So they're very, very bright. They're just like instruments of light. I'll go back and fix the dress. So they stay very, very bright on top of anything nearby. Lighting is amazing. You can spend hours on every little ruffle in the dress, but it really doesn't do much to ignore your light. So one thing that's happening now is that there's a gradient in the character. So meaning that there's a point where the wood is actually facing the light because the light seems to be coming from the side. So this wood would catch a lot of light. How do I know that? I did my form studies. You can make all kinds of advanced or simple or mixed shapes that help you break down all of these concepts before you have to deal with them in an illustration. Because you're saying the light is coming from the front, but the light on her face is as if the light is coming from the top left. So you've got a lot of different light sources here. All right, so something like that coming in from the top. Just catching the light. And again, there's no object that's too difficult if the artist has done their form studies. There is no object that is too unique. There is no object that is too alien to the concept of volume and edge and rotation and the z-axis. All objects fall under the jurisdiction of what is accessible to you in a form study. So meaning that you've prepared yourself for every object should you venture into form studies. Alright, so it's really simplified, no texture. I might change the color later, but it's just for the sake of this. And then there's where you placed the character. I think she's not very well placed, meaning that in the canvas, oops, in the canvas she is actually pretty high, which isn't ideal. And if you feel like you lost the work you did on the deck, I can't even say the word deck right now, then you can just shrink her so that she's smaller in the canvas, and crop a little higher. What I want to do is just this. I think this reads just fine. And I'm going to lower her a little bit to the front, because if your character's too high in the canvas, they will seem like they're not important. The best spot in the canvas is the spot close. The best character, the focal point in the canvas is the character closest to the center. Remember, it's a picture frame. If you had a picture frame, would you put your character off to the side of the frame or right in the center? So we try not to do a perfect center because that's cheesy and cheap and easy. So we try to do it a little off center. If there's multiple characters, we try to do a shared thing. All right. So I'm doing that. And then, now that this is all separate, I'm going to try to do a better job with the lighting. And then I'll jump into that 14-day challenge soon as well. Alright, so I'm just trying to bring everything up to the same level, with the sky being nice and bright behind her, so that I can inverse and then focus on her and give us that nice darkened transition on the character. So we're gonna do that. Actually, I might have to deselect this and this and this. Okay, so we're gonna put this layer on darken. I'm gonna choose a generalized dark value. So just her hair seems to be the average dark. And I'm gonna darken downward. Hopefully it darkens the dress just fine. So I'm gonna assume the light is coming from the top down, the same way her face is. And I'm just gonna over darken because I'll be deleting in a second. Okay, so a lot more dramatic. All right, and then what we're gonna do is just delete. And on this layer, I'm going to manage the lasso by bringing in like a dodge, or let me see what I can do now. And just, yeah, let me just do a dodge on midtones. Just so that her dress is catching a lot of light. So it's about what the sun can reach. Maybe a little of the red too. Maybe her sleeve. All right, so we've got this on a separate lasso. We've got this, we gotta select that, go to before I dodged, and paste. So now I can delete comfortably at the shadow. Try to make a little bit of a see-through sleeve there. Okay, so I need to track down where I want the shadow to be. And just ease up a little bit, maybe desaturate in a second. All right, so you got that kind of that Pirates of the Caribbean sun glare, right? Or they're outside with not much shade, and any shade that comes in is dramatic. I'm gonna try to do it like that. And we've got that shadow at the top, which is, I don't really miss the contrast you had. Oh, I don't really miss it. All right, so that makes a little bit more sense. I'm gonna try to fix her pantaloons. Cast the shadow of her dress on her pantaloons. All right, and then I'm gonna try to find where we have the back of her dress to try to see if I can pull off some subsurface scattering, because her dress is double layered, so we're not going to see any subsurface that way, but we might see it in the back of the dress. Just experimenting. I might not like it, as I do with every critique hour. Just try to see if I can pull it off. Protect tones off. No. Hi, do you need my useless help? No, thanks, Windows. And then subsurface is both saturation and illumination. And then I'm going to try to darken the top. And just try to sneak in some more. Just towards the top. And I feel like this chunk is kind of awkward, so I'm going to break it up with like a dark patch. Maybe an extra set ripples or folds. Again, best way to learn how to do folds is to do form studies for folds, which is fabric studies. I've talked a lot about that before as well. Really, really, really helpful to do fabric studies. All right, so just a quick work of that. I see this. I kind of want to extend those ripples down. Just having too much fun, I guess. All right, so I guess now we can take a look, but this is still not done because there's a big section, a big part of this critique that I want to fix, which is the fact that it's the color correction, right? We still need to color. We still need to fix all these colors because everything is colored with all this confused light environment. So the lesson is a controlled light environment means better color control. Write that back. So when you have a control over where your direction is coming from when it comes to the light, the time of day, you have a better idea of what the colors are capable of doing depending on the exposure of the light. So duh, you know, the light decides how many and what kind of colors we can see. So I'm going to select this. And you'll get a quick before and after right now, and then you'll get the before and after with the color. Actually, let me just color correct right now. Because she's in a shadow, I'm going to desaturate objects in the shadow. I'm also going to try to desaturate some of those really badly saturated fabric towards where the light can see. Don't really want too much light on this side since the light can't get everything. And maybe I'll cast a shadow off that fabric. See, a random cast shadow makes no sense, but it's just like it looks good. Cast a shadow off of that. And then get this bad boy and put it there. Cast a shadow off of that. Alright, whatever. And then we're gonna color correct. So I'm gonna desaturate in the shadows, which will make sense. Yeah, I will, because that skin was almost red. It's just my desaturate is on like 83%. And then I'm going to saturate that red. So you do need like a dominant color that will kind of take over the scene, something repetitive that can work, that can carry the scene. I think the red looks great. You could make some red sails, but it is a, you know, a dark scene, so you don't want to desaturate part of the red looking away from the light. And what you could do is like decide that there's a break in the sail. So maybe there's a little bit of light on her face. Who knows? But let me jump back and color correct. So with color correction, it's very easy. You just get the color. This is exactly as it is in the atmosphere. You choose the exact color you want. Slap it on. Choose a percentage, and you can see how the before was a little bit less controlled. This is what they do in movies. This is how they make Mexican cities look dirty and and cartel, you know, and all those narcos and Once Upon a Time in Mexico. How you know you're in Mexico in cinema is if they just put a yellow golden kind of dirty filter, dirty sand, you know, filter. You're in the Middle East, you're in Iraq, dirty filter. You're in the United States, you're in Philadelphia, you're in New York City, blue filter. You know, no, it doesn't work like that. Everything just looks normal when if you go to those countries. But it's a trick in cinema. Like for instance, let me do it, and it'll look like we're in the desert. It's just a nice little trick. Actually, let me just actually pick the color itself. I mean, yeah, now it looks like Lawrence of Arabia. Let me pick a better one. Color layer is a bit tricky for me. I don't know. It doesn't always work. I'm just trying to cancel out. It looks a little bit more like 30s, but see what I'm saying? All right, let me get back to the basics here. Is this one I did the Lawrence of Arabia? All right, so I fixed that blue. So that corrected some of the colors. I mostly just wanted to correct her dress, so I might go back and just select what's getting all that blue. So even then, if you're worried about the color layer as a color correction tool, you don't have to have it apply to everything. If you want to just color correct one area, you can erase everything else and keep what you really want to color correct. In my case, I really just want to make all those colors you haphazardly chose for the dress to just make a little bit of sense. I also want it to feel like it's all been shot with the same camera, you know, not like different filters and whatnot. And I still feel like the background is too dark, but we'll see. And if you feel like you don't need the blue in the clouds, and you just need that blue on her, deselect anything that's on the clouds and delete that blue. Sorry, I'm not looking at the comments. 1 second. Just deleting that. So now we just color corrected and we can keep most of that. Now that I have the sky lassoed, I'm gonna try to push that blue a little further. I mean, push the sky value a little further. See how it's still very dark? And my flux is not on. Alright, so I like enhance the time of day so that it feels more strong. It's more of a powerful silhouette. And you will see how dark it was before. You will. Alright, so I merge that down. Light's coming from above. We can fake some stuff. Select inverse. So what can we fake? We can get dodge tool, or you know, this one right here, and just like try to force in some rim light, maybe snuck in from around and kind of just reflected through her shirt, because you may feel like you are missing out on some light around. So you can do something like that. I never just do rim light. I go back and delete. This far arm has thrown off the depth, so I'm just gonna throw some blue on a really, really low opacity on the far arm. Fake atmospheric perspective, just so that the far arm feels like it's not attached to the body. You could be doing something else with the arm too. You're not restricted. So I'm gonna go to before I did that. Paste, and then like I said, I don't just leave it, I delete until it feels like a tasteful kind of rim light around the sleeve. can do the same thing with the hair. It's a very sneaky light, but it's added dimension to the sleeve so that it's not made of the same material. I'm going to desaturate. It looks really awkward, her pantaloon thing. I'm gonna just desaturate that. It feels like it's colored for no reason. Kind of has like an awkward sheen to it. You could get rid of a lot of the highlights on the knee. I know you did a good job on the knee, but seems like it's really, really awkwardly illuminated. Like it's a very oily knee. Okay, so there's a lot that you've done wrong composition wise. You put a big block that closes off her silhouette. You could have easily ended that block somewhere here, and that would have opened up the scene a little bit more. Oops, that's her leg. And that would have just helped us breathe a little. I don't want to lose her leg. Right, so that's nice. It's kind of just let us see her full silhouette. That's fine, like that. And you could throw your little silhouette in after. And then this shadow here is a little bit awkward, so I'm just gonna clear it up a little. And you have so much detail towards the edge of the canvas, really not necessary, because you need to be doing the opposite of that. You need to be minimizing detail at the edge of the canvas. And I'm still not convinced about what I'm allowing, all that shadow I'm allowing on her face. And then we could also let some sunshine in through the fabric above. And it's two-parter. It's that color as well as the color of the sun shining through. So I could sneak that in with color layer, which mine doesn't work, or a little bit of sunshine. So this is what I mean by more texture familiarity. You guys forget that fabric is see-through, you know? And guess what else you can do to this fabric? You can cast a shadow of the post on it. So it can just be one big shadow. And I would just take my time with this if I were you, but it's just like a nice shadow that you could cast. I think that looks fine for now. And as I showed you guys before, all cast shadows need to be blurred. So I should have probably put that on a separate layer. I'll take that. Go to before I did that. Paste in place again. Did I not copy my shadows? Darken. Why is it not? Why isn't it letting me? So I'm gonna, before things go to hell, I'm just gonna save. Okay. I'm just gonna start it over. So I was gonna blur those shadows because all cast shadows need to be blurred. They're not sharp and they're not ugly like that. I don't know why it's not letting me see it, because I know it's there. Did I just, oh. Oh, okay, right. So then filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and we're just blurring this out. See how that looks like a nice cast shadow, but I still need to erase so that I could get the layer underneath. I don't know what's going on. Normal. Where is it? Oh, right. So I need to delete this. I need to put this underneath. I'll merge that down. Damn it! What am I doing wrong? Okay, so that is that, and that comes here, and that goes there, and that's merged down, and this is turned on, and it's still not working? What the? I may be tired. It may be just that I'm tired. So that's the good layer. I turn this on, that dissipates. What the fuck? That's okay. That's okay. We are going to delete this. Anyway, I'm gonna just go back. Oh shit, I got rid of all my history because I restarted Photoshop. Paste it and then put it on darken. It's not gonna work. Oh, it is. Okay, cool. Yeah, so now we got our cast shadow, we got detail from before. What else do I want to do? Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell just what happened. And now I'm just gonna blur the whole thing. So blur what's not necessary. So paste, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And I'm just blurring away things that are not important, like the edge of the painting, all that stuff. And then I go back, of course, and we illuminate what is important. And I jump back to Reddit to find the before to show you guys. Oops. So really what it is that, again, it's another example of how you guys didn't plan your light environments. That's another example of how, you know, it's the time of day, the environment around your character all seems like it's an inconsequential kind of technicality that you guys have to deal with before you get to the character or after you get to the character. So you can see how dark it was before. And it's nice when the character is illuminated, sure. But after, you have like a better time of day that's a bit more focused. And now we can decide on exactly, I wanted to keep the before and after so we can, my history, so that I could go back to the face and spot erase. But now we have better color correction. Yes, we have a big light patch down here, but once we select this and add some more detail to the clouds, it shouldn't be such a bad big square patch, which can be a tangent, which can be annoying to see in a canvas. All right, so more color correction and a better light environment. Those were just like sunset clouds, and if you were going to go for sunset, you really had to illuminate her to the max. There were no more cast shadows coming from the top. The sunset would have been really controlled colors, a dark time of day, and some pretty strong orange sky and a lot of illumination right on her face. So this is just what's after. And then I'm gonna just try to give us some, oh my bad, merge down, try to give us a gradient for the lower part of the canvas, and then spot reveal her face. See how long it took me to decide on when I'm going to spot reveal her face. Just bringing light back in was what I mean. Right, so we're leaning towards the lower part of the sky, so I'm not so worried about that. And then just like I did before, I'm going to duplicate the layer. I should probably lasso. Duplicate the layer, get dodge tool on midtones, no dodge tool on highlights, and then just decide if there is a breach in the light somewhere at the top. And I'll delete whatever's on the sail, whatever's around. I'll illuminate everything with the light in mind. And the light's coming in from a very strong angle. So now everything is responding to the same light source. I'm not even going to illuminate all of her corset, just the top that looks at the light. just the top of every set of pearls. That's how you end up with a professional looking light environment. That light that's breaching, and I could just cut across and make it so that the sail is casting a shadow just at the top of her head or the bottom. Just the top, wherever we're getting some relief. And then now I have to switch to a white. And low opacity, just the top of the little skirt thing. And I'm going right back and deleting what I don't need. And I'm not trying to cancel out that shadow because it's very, very strong. Imagine if it was halfway through. Imagine if it was a much stronger shadow where we had really strong illumination, like all the way down. Just all the way down, just like that, like a really strong shadow. But this is what we have. And so we've got a little bit of ambient light on her face, a stronger light environment silhouette. Now I'll go back and spot delete. And again, this is what you could be doing. Just a eraser mark, just like that. Cutting off the top of the face. So we get a strong light on her face, going up, and then a really strong delete. So we get like a nice strong cast shadow. But again, you can decide against that. You can just keep that illumination. I recommend something like that. It just makes her look so much more mysterious, but still gives us the light that we need on her face. And we could prepare, we could just put a lot of bounce, a lot of dodge tool, actually with protect tones on. You can put dodge tool on shadows, by the way, and that'll raise your shadows up too. It's very ashy, but it'll help kind of work with all the levels. That far shoulder is just non-existent. It feels like she should have that like Harlequin romance novel shoulder with like all tucked up and ready for sex. Oh, sorry. All right, so something like that I think looks a lot better. I'm getting older. I can make the dirty jokes now, like old ladies. You just deal with it. And I think her cleavage makes no sense. Because so now she's got that shoulder. Whenever you get ashy saturation levels, whenever you get ashy results out of dodge tool on shadows, just follow up with a saturation. And that should kind of get rid of some of that ashiness. All right, so we're starting to spot or delete, and then see how her torso is casting a shadow? That shadow is going to fall on those little thingies that I added. So see how we consider the character last? And then there's the arm and the sword, which I feel like should be a little bit higher, just because tucked so close to her body is again another way you've destroyed her silhouette. So I'm going to, in the new layer, kind of just choose whatever value you had here, just so you can see how much nicer it is on this side. She looks a little bit more athletic. And then just carry that up. So like the hilt and all of that stuff. And cut it. Actually, merge down. cut it, carry it up. And then try to find the original detail you had for the sword. If I can't find it, I'll just get rid of it. Merge down so you don't tuck things too close to the body, because then you're just losing so much detail. The silhouette, having a lot of little breathing room, little pockets like this in between the arm and the body, that's detail. So don't try to lose your detail at any opportunity that you get, because you're just gonna wish you had it, and so you're gonna make up for it by drawing every little pearl. We're missing an arm, we're missing another foot, the shoulder is gone, and so that's why you find yourself missing out on the stuff that really defines a female figure in art, which is the neckline, the shoulder. The hair is covering the neckline, the shoulder is missing, and the arm, which is another really big female definer, because you know that the length of the limb is very feminine. It's all missing. So when we get it back, her arm looks a little bit stiff like Barbie arms, but I hope you do something a little bit more flexible than what I'm doing. I'm just running out of time. And then the sword is a cutlass, so I'm going to try to I'm just going to accept that as acceptable. All right. So recently I watched Pirates Band of Misfits. It was the funniest fucking movie you've ever seen. And they were arguing about what's the best part about being a pirate. Ham Night one. Fucking best movie ever. My favorite part is like all the, you know, the suspiciously curvaceous pirate. She's just a female. But she's hiding. She's pretending she's not a male pirate. You know, she's pretending to be a male pirate. She's pretending she's not a woman. What the hell's wrong with my brain right now? And the captain refers to her in a scene. He's like, "Yes, you, suspiciously curvaceous pirate." And in the credits, they just refer to her as suspiciously curvaceous. But this looks more like a saber. I'm an Arab. Work with me. I'm gonna try to. I'll just bring the detail down. Big pirate. Alright, and then just give a hilt here and here. And then we'll call it done. How about that? Alright, I kind of like the gleam. Merge down. But I think I feel like I need a little bit more color correction, because that orange sky just behind her is just bugging me. It's just not, we don't have those types of shadows. It's not a sunset. They're not long shadows. It's not illumination golden coming from beneath. And I think that is much better. So before, again, you have one random splotch of light from the bottom. You have her all the way up here where it does not work. You want me to show you how it doesn't work? What I used to do, which is a big trick to help you find out whether or not you've destroyed your composition, is you're going to put a spot wherever there's a point of interest. Then you're going to turn everything off and look at what you did. This is all, sorry my voice got, this is all just empty. It's just nothing. And if you think her oily, shiny little knee thing is going to save the day, it's not. That's why we went and shifted everything down. So now you can see that the points of interest have come down a little bit. All right. And then you've got the colors. So again, it's not at all sunlight from a sunset. It's afternoon light that you've dimmed as if it's overcast, but you haven't desaturated the colors like it's overcast. So this makes more sense because we've desaturated everything. There's no immediate sunlight, but look at the reds and the yellows you had before. You were trying to tell us it's sunlight. So just desaturate this. Literally, you can fix this in two. I went the long way, but you can fix it in two tricks here. First one is desaturate. Second one is darken the clouds. Hey, it's storming. And it makes sense. So this could be your fix. It can be a little bit of light shining through from the top. You still have to fix the piece, but to make sense of the colors you were trying to show, you had to do it the long way because, you know me, I have to make everything harder. Right, so I should have just done that first fucking fix, save myself the time. Of all the days, the day that I'm just absolutely tired. Okay, and then we've got the saturation. So now that we have sunlight, we can actually push the saturation a little bit further on the, just a little bit further on the dress. But I still recommend that that other, let me darken it a little bit. I think we can spare a little bit of shadow. The other one where we have cast shadows. So I think they look great. I think they make a lot of sense. You know, they just seem to work with the battle scene. Also, she looks a little bit kind of comfortable. Maybe make her a little bit more tattered. Maybe she got hit by a sword towards her dress. Maybe some bleeding out of her oily knees, you know. Something. All we did, the big lesson of today, is make it a consistent light environment all around. Don't use sunset colors on a daytime overcast fight scene. All right, if you want it to be more cinematic, just desaturate. And we can even desaturate the daytime one. Oops, wrong slider. We can even desaturate that. Just makes things a little bit more mature for the design. And if you want to go back and bring in your little sepia border, you can. If it's like a book cover, you can bring that in now. Just a gentle one, nothing extensive. Be careful not to throw it too high because then we're bringing that gradient back to the sky, which does not look good. Something else you could add, and I'm just going to bring them in little white spots, is some swords, some guy with a bandana running around, another sword, maybe she's just at the top, kind of looking down. And then what you could do is behind her, and I'm going to use this with white lines, is maybe a banner or something just to fill the space behind. A pirate flag, I mean. So it would have to be like something, maybe a couple of them just behind her. It's trying to look like them Miserables, but whatever. Okay, just to make it actually look like a battle scene, because she looks kind of by herself in the foreground. And that gradient you have, you would keep that. I don't have flux on, right? Yeah. All right, so lots of stuff. And then the 14-day challenger. Any questions at all? Came in like, can someone tell me why the original clouds were considered sunset versus dusk? It doesn't matter. They all look, the sunset and dusk look the same. To me, I really can't tell the difference sometimes. The light seems a little bit more cool in the morning than it does at night. But it's such a fine detail. It doesn't really matter unless you really, really have a very specific customer who actually wants you to copy it. That's all. And then sunset, yeah, it tends to be a little bit more orange, and then the sunrise tends to be a little bit more cool, but they both have lots of warms. Yeah, the original had a really dark sky, almost like it was a tapestry, like it was really old. Yeah. All right, so the 14-day challenger piece here, I don't know if it's male or female, which is a problem. You should always decide on a gender for your 14-day challenges, because you can draw as many androgynous characters as you want, but the people who will hire you don't really care for that. And so please decide on a gender for your 14-day challenge so you can actually have the skill enough to draw either when you need to. And the skill enough to draw a good androgynous character, not a noob androgynous character. So we fixed the neckline. Over-thickened, over-fattened necklines are really, really, really gross, especially on feminine features like that tiny little feminine nose. You basically are just telling us that it's Susan Strong from Adventure Time or some kind of Frankenstein female. It does not fit. It does not work. Even female bodybuilders have to go through extensive hormone therapy just to be able to build as big as men do. And by then, it's just a male body with a female, what used to be a female delicacy to the portrait. So you can tell when things just don't look hormonally balanced. There's a reason why female bodybuilders who do take testosterone look a little bit more like men the more they do it. So it's really, you got to tamper a lot with your anatomy and biology, which is basically how you get an androgynous person in real life. Is usually they have some kind of imbalance or they are transitioning, and you really got to mess with what's happening with you in order to get that weird puberty transition stage where your neck is just gigantic but the rest of you is super female. So just don't do that. That's what unintentional noob androgynous looks like. That's when you actually don't know what you're doing and you just kind of forcing it. This may have just been a simple mistake. Thinner necks for female, thicker for male. If you're gonna go thicker for male, you gotta go thick everything else. Thick brow bone, thick jawline, thick nose, lower, like the space you have in between the eyebrow and the eye is very, very feminine. And then I'm gonna tuck in the sides. Because human faces aren't circular. Please write that back to me. And if they are, it's seen as less beautiful. Human faces are longer. They're usually longer. When we grow and mature, our faces lengthen. Human faces are not circular. What I mean by human, I mean like adult, the typical template go-to standard, the anatomically beautiful, the anatomically functional, the non-deformed, the protagonist, what you want the protagonist to look like. It's a longer face. You use circular faces for babies, for innocent creatures, for innocent children, for old people that are just unusual looking, like an evil scientist for some reason one of them always has a circular face. It's not something you do on, what you would call just an average protagonist. Average, beautiful, above average in real life protagonist, but average in the world of the story. So you see what I'm saying? Before, after. So that thick neck, that comes from either not knowing what gender you're doing. I think you were doing female, but you could have been doing male too. It's really hard to tell. It's a very female lip, upper lip and lower lip. It's a very female nose. And I tucked everything in. So be careful not to let these types of mistakes snowball into your day 14, which is very, very difficult to fix because you polished everything else. And so it's going to be hard for you not to, one, be really hard on yourself and hate yourself because you're like, how did I miss such a big mistake? And two, it's going to look like it's normal to you. So it's going to be hard for you to fix it and accept the fact that you have to fix it. So lots of stuff today, lots of changes. Thank you everyone for coming today. I'm sorry about my delay. Wish me luck on finishing that deck. It's going to be a lot of work. I'm back breaking. I already have a broken back, but I hope it's done soon. I will try my best to make it this Thursday. I did take off all week to finish any more outdoor work before the snow hits. If you want to join and want to submit your stuff for class, go to istebrak.com. and click on the Reddit icon to join to submit your work. If you want to join our community challenge, go to the Holiday Design Challenge brief right here. Submit your questions, submit any pictures you want to use for reference, any stuff you want to inspire other people with, stuff you're working on, reply here so that this can be our hub. This can be where we go if someone wants to start and wants to ask someone questions or look at what other people are doing. Please use this post to interact with each other. If you want to support on Patreon, if you learned something today and you want to support, please do. Join us $1. That's just $12 a year for keeping Critique Hour alive. So if you have the means and you feel like supporting, you feel like giving back, if everybody joined on Reddit, really wouldn't need to promote Patreon ever again. If everyone joined for $1 a month, that would be really, really cool. So my goal is to have 1,000 patrons. That's just a personal goal for my Patreon. 1,000 $1 patrons. So let's try to do it. I think we can do it. I will see you guys on Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Purchase Studio sale will be in around 2 weeks to 3 weeks. I just have to find the time to do promos, which is really hard to do because that's a lot of video editing and it's a lot of footage that I have to shoot. So I will try my best to get it out. It will be on sale. Promos or not, it will be on sale for the Christmas season and for late November and all of that business. I will see you guys on Thursday. Once again, bye.